Welcome to the second season of Trophy Moments and a Few Firsts with me, Keith Baldwin. Sponsored by Spikes Trophies, where you can reach Spikes at gospikes.com or one of the 3 locations in the Delaware Valley. I've got a special guest today, Theresa Hummel Krallinger. And Theresa, I met her when she had me on her podcast, Meet the Author. Which she does. She's founder and facilitator of that podcast. She's president and chief people officer, a unique title, of High Five Performance, Inc. She's a former faculty member at Temple University for 17 years and a part-time comedian.
Yes.
That is quite a resume.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Yes. So what is a chief people officer?
All right, so my gift is to work with organizations and help them make the most of their people. Create people infrastructure, reward recognition, great leaders, great managers, and things that make people want to work for their company.
Work on their culture.
Yeah. So, and I know already because I've taken a sneak peek into your culture, you get what I do, good core values, mission, vision, really living them, celebrating things, celebrating the good things that people do in the organization, being clear about what's expected. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing that?
Arguably since birth, but it really started in my Prudential days. So I was at Prudential for a very long time, and what a wonderful place to learn and be, because when you're in a big organization like that, you tend to be in the top notch when it comes to people infrastructure, HR best practices, management training. So that set the foundation for me. So when I graduated from Prudential and got out on my own.
So take me through the thought process when you said, okay, I'm at Prudential, you're making a good living.
Yes.
I want to do something on my own, and it's going to be the high. What was that thought process?
Yeah, so I will say the last few years I was there, I was kind of ready to jump. And they had reorganizations from time to time, and frankly, the package that people got, if you had been there a while,
was too good to be true.
Was quite good. It was quite good. So I actually put it out there. I'm like, hey, if you want to put me on a list, and they said, no, that's not how this works. You don't ask to be put on a list. But there was a list, and eventually I got on that, and I was delighted. Loved Prue, still love it, even to this day, but was ready to go out on my own. And that's when it all started, 2002, 22 years ago.
So, okay, so you had not been at Temple University yet then?
No. And in fact, I joined Temple, it was about 2003, which was interesting and fun because I got recruited. They sent me a note and said, we are looking for somebody who does what you do. And I thought,
out of the blue?
Out of the blue. Here's what happened. They had an instructor that did what I do. She moved to Florida, and they had an opening to fill. They went out on what was then the ASTD website, which is now ATD.
What's ATD?
Association for Talent Development.
Okay.
I was president of the Philadelphia chapter at the time. They went out, read my bio, and they're like, she could do this. So they sent me a note, and I thought, oh, this is such an honor, but I don't think they'll ever hire me. And I was hired.
What did you teach?
I taught interpersonal communications, management and leadership, conflict management.
I should have known better.
Yeah. And for years and years and years. And I had Center City campus, which I can point because it's right out the window here, and Fort Washington for a good long time, and Ambler campus.
So then the pandemic got you out of that?
The pandemic did. There was a shift in focus of how we were doing our non-credit offerings. So I opted to hop off the bus. Yeah.
That was a good off-ramp.
Yeah, it was. But you know what? I
do you
love
miss
that
it?
too. I do, because I love...
What do you miss?
You know what I miss? I miss Rhonda Knapp, and Rhonda is a wonderful person. I've always worked with her. I miss that every day that I taught there was a good day. My husband used to joke with me. He said, Theresa, what do you say every day when you come home from Temple? And I had to think. I said, today was a really good day. I really met some really awesome people. This was like, and he said, Theresa,
and it was the students?
It was. It was. But he picked up on that. He said, every time you come home from Temple, you say the same thing. Today was a really good day. So that's saying something.
That's saying a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah, I loved it.
So, Meet the Author. How did you get into being a podcaster of Meet the Author?
So Meet the Author.
That's how we met, by the way.
Yes, it is how we met, because you had a wonderful book, and you continue to build on your book. So I joined the Pyramid Club, I guess it was 11 and a half years ago. And when I joined the club, within the first 6 months, I'm like, I love this place. And I want to do something, but I don't know what I can do that would be a value add. So at the time, there was a woman working here, Deborah, and Deborah Lynn and I talked about it, and I said, I know a ton of authors. Why don't we do like a little author conversation once a month? You know, a little round table.
A meet and greet.
Yeah, it'll be nice. She said, I love it. Let's do it. So it started as this little like round table. In fact, in this very room, it started.
Oh, really?
Yes. We just had a
I did
small
not know
group
that.
of people. Fran McNeil, who you've also interviewed.
Yes.
She was my very first author, dear friend of mine. And it started then, and then it built and built and built. So every month, 12 months out of the year, we had an in-person offering here at the club, unless there was like a snow day.
Right.
But otherwise, well, then when the pandemic hit, we had to move to Zoom, because I still had a bunch of authors.
Yeah, you had me on Zoom.
Yes, so I did Zoom, but now I do some on Zoom and some in person. So
now you're a hybrid.
Yeah, but it's not hybrid like some people are watching
Right.
virtually. It's like you're either here or you're there. But this Friday, I have a good one coming up.
Who's your author?
Oh my God, I can't remember her name, Kat, and I can't remember her last name.
Do you remember the book?
Yes, she has a book about really overcoming self-imposed limitations. Yeah, like getting out there and making things happen.
So I've got a great story that I was on your podcast, and it was about my first. And at the end, you asked me, and I didn't know that you were a part-time comedian at the time. Then you said that I'm a part-time comedian, and have you ever done stand-up? And I said no. And you challenged me that day. And then I said, because I was into doing these first, and I said yes. And you set me up with a class at Act 2 Playhouse in Ambler.
Yes.
And I went through the course, and I graduated on stage, and you were in the first row.
Yes, of course I'm going to go support you.
And it was an unbelievable experience. I don't know if I could do it like you, and you could do it on a consistent basis. So tell us about your part-time. How did you become a part-time comedian?
Okay, so I never thought I would ever do this. Just know this. It wasn't a goal of mine. It wasn't something
So you stumbled into it.
So what I did when I left Prudential, so I'd been at Pru a long, long time. So now I've got like a little freedom with my time. Montgomery County Community College had an 8-week stand-up comedy class for $89 back in 2002. And I'm like, it's 5 minutes from my house. It's $89.
And it's something to do.
And it's something fun. Like I thought, I'm going to learn some comedic techniques. I can use it in training. I can
Were you
use it
ever
in
funny in
speaking.
school or like
Yeah.
one of...
I was I was in trouble sometimes in
Okay.
Catholic school, and I think some of it was trying to make people laugh, yes. But so I took this class not to become a comedian, because to me that was very far-fetched, but to learn comedic technique. But as you know, when you go through one of these classes, there's a graduation show.
Yes.
And the graduation show, you get to do whatever you came up with. It's usually about 5 minutes of content, and you do your 5 minutes. Well, I had a great time, and people laughed. So then I took an advanced comedy class, which essentially is just writing more stuff. And once you get yourself to about 15 minutes, you can be a paid MC. And that's when you start to get booked for shows. And now I'm at about, after all these years, 22 years, I'm at about 30 minutes of comedy. Because I'm lazy, I should be further along.
Well, you've got another job, too.
True,
It's not your
true.
full-time job.
But what I love is 20. If someone gives me 20, sweet spot, very happy.
So do you have an upcoming show that we can see you at?
I do. It's in North Jersey. So everybody who's watching in Philly, just hop in your car and go north. It's in Tottawa, New Jersey. I think it's called Sweet and Sour Comedy. My friend Suzanne Stein, who is a delightful person and a hoot, we're performing this Friday night.
Well, this podcast will be long gone.
Yeah.
It won't be out until
Yeah.
after the show.
But that'll be a good show.
And you perform with a number of different comedians. And who's your favorite comedian locally?
Well, I better say Joe Conklin, or he'll never hire me again. But I love Joe. I love working
You
with Joe.
work with Joe?
Yes. You know what? I have dear friends, and I can't say that I love anyone more than the others, but I love them all. Chip Chantry, love him. Chris Kosha, love him. And there's just so many.
So many.
Missy Hall, love her. Not only are they talented and funny, but they're just beautiful human beings. So, yeah.
So what was the hardest part about doing stand-up comedy for you?
I think remembering everything. Now, the first show, God bless the instructor, he let us bring a poster board on stage with sticky notes with keywords. So you had it to the side so you could be like, oh, that's right.
Did you use it?
I actually probably didn't even need it, but it was a comfort.
Yeah.
It was a comfort to have it there. But when you're getting paid to do comedy, you don't have a poster board you might have a set list. But at this point, my eyes are not good enough to even see that. So I try to have my jokes like weave one into the other. Like there's something that says, speaking of this, and then it goes right into the next one.
So I'm going to go back to High Five Performance, Inc. Did the pandemic make you busier or slower?
You know what? It actually helped my business. I mean, I hate to say that, but I think the situation was such that when we went virtual, there were so few trainers and speakers that had really embraced Zoom and other technology. I had been doing remote training for years because I work for global companies. And those global companies are not sending me to China, right? So I'm teaching Beijing, and it's 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. I'm on Zoom, right? So I was very comfortable with the platform.
So the pandemic wasn't the first time you had a Zoom call then?
No.
Like a number of us.
No, I was teaching people. Friends of mine. Well, Jim Smith, there's another one, Dr. James. I remember the two of us, I'm like, come on down. Let's come to my office and we're going to practice. So any of my training friends that were really at that beginning stage.
You helped them with that, over that hump, and getting on Zoom and feel comfortable.
And now they're all pros.
But most of your training now, is it still Zoom or is it a combination of
50-50.
50-50.
50-50. So now I just got a gig down in Washington, D.C. that's in person. I am delighted. I get to take Amtrak there. I get to see people face to face. But I still have gigs, particularly when they're overseas. Whereas they used to fly me to Switzerland. I was flown to Belgium. Yeah, we're doing those online.
Yeah, so a lot of that has changed. A lot less travel because of what has happened in the Zoom.
I'm not giving up hope, though. I'm still thinking I might go to Europe. You never know.
Well, the travel industry has exploded since it's come back.
Oh, totally. Because now everybody's been chomping at the bit to get out.
Yeah.
And this year, I can't tell. I'm going to Italy in September. I can't tell you the number of people who will also be in Italy in September.
Yes. Have you been to Italy? I mean,
I've never.
Oh, okay. We'll have to talk offline.
Yeah.
I do have to ask, where are you going in Italy?
A bunch of places. We start in Rome, a few days, then we hop on a cruise.
Okay.
And the cruise stops at a bunch of different places.
So you're going to go around the...
Yes, and then we end up near Venice. And then we're going to spend a couple days in Venice. My niece is in the Air Force. She's stationed at Aviano, Italy. So we're going to spend a couple days with her.
And I can't wait to hear about your trip after September. So anyway, back to the topic of this podcast, which is trophy moments and a few firsts. What's a trophy moment? What was your trophy moment of your life? What was something that you were recognized for, or some special event in your life that's my trophy moment?
All right. There's a lot of things I've been acknowledged for, and I appreciate awards that I've won. But I'll tell you what my trophy moment is, and it is not a one-time thing. It's when somebody comes back to me. They were either in a workshop, we did some coaching together, but they come back to me and they say, my life is different.
You've changed somebody's life.
Because of our conversations, because of something that I picked up in that class, something that created an epiphany moment for them. That is freaking powerful. Do you know, like and it's happened more than once. When I taught at Temple, there's a gentleman in my class who was a Marine, right? He goes overseas, he gets deployed. They're in a situation where they're trying to work things out with the locals. It's not working out well. He remembers attending my disc class, and he says to the guys, look, we're approaching this as high Ds, very command and control. These are S. These are people who are collaborative, and they're good listeners, and we need to approach them with a softer, gentler approach. And it helped them be more effective in their job. And I thought, here I am impacting the Marine in another country. But those things to me, see, it gives me chills. Those things to me, that is a trophy moment.
So when people come back and tell you, and sometimes you didn't realize you were that it even sunk in.
Right. It's a one-day workshop. I figured they come in, punch a card, and off they go.
And he took the time to come back to you.
He did.
And communicate how impactful what you were telling him.
Yes.
And what it meant to him and how it changed him.
Yes.
That's.
Yeah. I've had people say, this saved my marriage. I didn't know how to have a conversation with my spouse. But after going through this workshop, I understood I have to think through what I'm going to say, and I used the tools. This saved my marriage. This has helped people with relationships with their teenagers. Anybody who was a teenager knows. This has helped them with those kinds of conversations. So
that's
it's awesome.
So that's impactful.
Totally.
That's a great trophy moment. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. I still want one of those big trophies, though, because I've been to your store.
Sure.
And when I walked in, somebody must have, I don't know what these were for. They were gone by the time we came out. But they were as tall as me. What were those trophies?
They were for I think, a baseball or softball championship.
They were amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do whatever it is to get that thing.
I think we both would have to lose a number of years on our life to participate.
I've missed the boat.
Yeah. But I'm sure that you've impacted many trophy moments in many organizations and helped them win awards in becoming good at what they've done.
We have. Yes. There's an organization that was really struggling. People were leaving. And because of the culture. It was, well, what happened is it's a small organization. So there's only so far people can go. Managers were getting promoted. They weren't trained. But at its core, it was a really good organization. So we had to stop the bleeding because if they couldn't hold on to people, they wouldn't survive. So we did a management training program, and we surrounded that program with lots of other things. Within 18 months, they won Best Place to Work Philadelphia. So they went from being bleeding people, yes, to people wanting to join that company. It's the fastest I've ever seen it happen. 18 months is pretty quick.
That's very quick.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second part of it is first. What's something that you've done a lot of things? What's something that you haven't done yet that you've always wanted to do that would be a first for you?
All right. So the comedy thing I'd like to take to the next level.
Explain that.
So I need to get up to 45 minutes of material. And I will say Chip is inspiring me. So I want to get up too, so I could be a headliner. I'd like to work at a casino. I want to be able to post on my Facebook page, come see me at the Borgata this weekend. I'd also be happy working at Parks Casino. Joe knows that. So I've planted a seed with him. I want to be able to post, hey, I'm at Parks Casino.
Are you working on that now? That 45 minutes?
I am. You know what inspired me? The workshop that we just did with comedy writing for speakers.
So yeah, tell us about that. So I was part of the class, your class, for the National Speakers Academy, and you were one of our presenters. So take us through what that presentation with your fellow worker was.
Yeah, so I was honored, first of all, that NSA reached out and said, Theresa, will you do the humor program? I thought, I'm bringing in a comedy buddy. I got to bring in a comedy buddy. So Chip, who also teaches stand-up at Helium, was perfect. And he was also a school teacher at one time. So we share the whole trainer-teacher thing.
You two were great together, by the way.
Thank you. Love each other. He's like my brother. He's just wonderful. So I said, I think beyond NSA, there is a need for what we're going to teach. Let's think this through. So we planned all of the different exercises. It was hard. We only had that half day. Man, we wanted some more time. But teach you all of the comedic techniques so you at least know what they are, and then give you a little time to practice. So one of the things that I thought was low-hanging fruit, because a couple people there said, I'm not funny.
I told you that. I'm not funny.
Yeah.
I don't view myself as particularly funny.
But you know now, those techniques, even if you're not naturally off the cuff funny, you can plan funny.
Yes, I did learn that.
Yes. So there's this thing called rule of three. Anybody can do rule of three.
Take us through a rule of three.
So rule of three is where the first two things that you say are not funny. They're serious. They're expected. And the third thing is funny because it's a surprise. It's not in alignment with the first two. For example, when I work in New Jersey, I always say, it's so good to be here in New Jersey. You guys have wonderful farm fresh vegetables, beautiful beaches, and courteous drivers. And I just really enjoy. So do you see how the third one
is not congruent with the other two?
It's not congruent with the other two. So that's rule of three. Any of you could do that. Anybody could.
Well, after I took the class that you sent me to, and they taught the rule of three, and then you start to listen to some comedians, and they use that.
Yeah.
So
because you see the techniques now, because you
start to
can name
see
them.
some of the techniques that they use and they practice.
Yeah.
So what else? What other techniques do you teach?
We talk about words that have two meanings and using those words to be funny. So I talk about my husband and I have been married for 25 years. He read an advice article. It said, if you really want to spice things up, you should pamper your partner. So he made me wear disposable diapers. I have to say, it did kick it up a notch. Who knew? So that pamper has two meanings. Pamper, go to a spa, get a massage. Pamper, disposable diaper. Yeah. So, but you see how once you know these things, then it's a matter of sitting down, and I always say have a buddy because it's fun to write with a buddy and start to sketch these things out.
Okay, so when are we going to see you in this setting down in the casino at Borgata?
Oh my gosh.
Is it a year? Is it 6 months?
So it's a combination of things. One, no, I do have, they only ask for 20 minutes, so I actually have the time to do it now. But you really need to be considered a headliner to do it. So one, content, which I think I'm kind of there, but there we go. The other thing is there's a person who books those shows. So I actually need to, and you know how it is. It's a networking thing. So it's not just a matter of me approaching this person. I think it's a matter of people who
Word
know
of mouth.
me. Yes. Yeah. But I know it will happen. I know that I'm going to do Borgata someday.
I know that now too.
Yeah, I have no doubt. And I know that for my headliner friends probably doesn't seem like a big thing, but for me it's a big thing.
Well, somebody that is a part-time comedian.
Right.
I mean, all your friends are full-time?
Some of them are. Some
Yes.
of them are, yeah.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
When you're doing it for a living and you've got to do it and you're doing it weekly.
Yes.
You're not doing it weekly.
No. I'll tell you what, this year, how crazy. I've been doing it 2-3 times a month.
Well, that's because you've got this goal that you want to do for the first time.
No, you know what it is? There have been more shows. This is like post-pandemic.
So-
like people traveling.
People
People
getting
going
out.
to comedy shows.
Yes.
And there's what I call pop-up comedy shows. So like Helium, that's a club, it's there, right? Poco's in Doylestown, that's a club, it's there. But then people like you and I can be like, this would be a great room for comedy. So then we have like Teresa's comedy space.
And have a networking and you have a
Yes.
little 15, 20 minutes of a...
And you book your own show. So I'm seeing friends like Tim Conniff. Tim Conniff has a wonderful room in Yardley. Steve Cooper has a wonderful room in Pennsauken. So these are comedians that are like, this space needs a show. And that's how we're getting more and more comedy opportunities.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Dude, start a show.
No,
I will work with you.
No.
That's how you're going to work your chops. That's how you're going to get better.
So a first. So you're going to be a 45-minute comedian at a casino.
Well, I would be
20
happy with 20 minutes. The other thing I want to do is something you've already done, and there's no excuse for me. Write a book. I got to get it. The manuscript is done.
What's it called?
So it is. Well, I don't even.
What's the name of the book?
The name of the book is
Name it right
around
now.
building your career boat. I actually, dude, I have the cover. I'll send it to you just so you can see.
I'd love to.
It is about managing your career for life. So it's building your career boat. It isn't if I had to think about it, but it talks about it's how I've managed my career. I am never there's no wood in here. Knock on wood. I'm never worried about work. Work just seems to come. Why? Because
of who
there
you are.
is a system. So I'm doing things. Like I'm doing this. I'm having a podcast with you. Somebody's going to watch this and be like, oh my God, I like that lady, right? It's speaking for different groups. It's helping people who are looking for work, and they don't forget that. It's all of these things, and also making sure you're really, really good at something. You got to be really, really good, or...
So you say you've already got it written. How long did it take you to write it?
Oh my gosh. If I actually said just how long, probably 3 days. But it took me years.
Over how many years?
Yes, it took me years. Because I would write some and then I would stop. But it is fully ready to go. But I'm working with a guy in North Carolina who is helping me get through the editing, layout, all of that.
That was the biggest process for me, the editorial process.
Oh, it's hard.
It is.
Yeah.
So how many months are you into the editorial process?
Since December. I could have had this book out, but because I'm busy, I'm like, dude,
I can't get to it.
Yeah. So it's on me. Now, there's other books that are in me. I'm going to write a book about organizational culture. I have a wonderful checklist that I share with organizations to say, this is like if you collected baseball cards where you're like, got it, need it, got it, need it. I have a checklist for them. Look through this list, and I want to do a chapter on each of those items. Yeah.
So now you got 2 books in you.
Yeah. And then I have Will Work for Meaning. Will Work for Meaning is a book about how do you create meaning for your employees so that they are happy and want to stay. I can see the cover. I can see a guy in a business suit, which people don't wear much anymore, but business suit, ripped piece of cardboard that says, Will Work for Meaning. Because what I'm finding now,
It's true.
and it's not just young people,
It's true.
it's people of all ages who are saying, you know what? I need meaning. It can't just be a paycheck. I want more than that.
It's funny you said that. I just had an interview with a business valuation expert, and his thing was people. In the numbers, you don't see people, but the people generate those numbers.
Dave
and it's
Bookbinder.
Yes.
Boom. There you go.
I just interviewed him.
Nice.
So yes, people, the process, or the culture of those people is so important, and that's what you're going to be writing about, and has a lot of value.
Dave was a guest at Meet the Author.
He told me that during our interview.
Yeah, when he first published his book, I was honored to have him for a couple of reasons. One, I just love Dave, but 2, I am in alignment with his mission on that.
So we're running towards the end of our interview. I can't believe how quick it's gone. It's been a half an hour already.
Because we can talk.
Yes.
We can talk.
So how can people get in touch with you for your high five performance or for your comedy?
Okay.
How do we reach out to you?
So I have websites. I have highfiveperformance.com. I have TheresaHKComedy.com. And I have meettheauthorpc.com. So that's where you're going to find out where I'm hanging out. LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me and drop me a line and get things started if you want to have a conversation. So as long as you're not an axe murderer, I'm willing to connect with you. Just make that clear in your introduction.
Not an axe murderer.
Yeah, not an axe murderer.
Are you willing to talk to me?
I saw you on Keith's show. I'm happy to connect.
Theresa, it's been a pleasure, an honor, and thank you very much for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Thank you.
It was a joy. I knew it would be.
Thank you.